Hello everyone, it's Christine here, and I have a fun activity for you today to make these little Ort ball Christmas decorations and to put them on a string to make your own Ort ball baubles. So I have previously shared the method for making these Ort balls, and lots of folks thought they were really fun at that time, but I know there's been a lot of new people to my channel, so you might not have seen the original Ort balls video, and I had the idea to turn them into a lovely little garland of balls that could be put on a Christmas tree or put up in your house. And again, these could be adapted not just for Christmas but for other celebrations, or you could have them up all year round in your craft room. I think they would look really, really sweet. So all you need to do this is a needle. I like to use a decently sized needle because I just find it's easier for pushing through. I often get people asking about where I get some of my bigger needles from, and I often pick up just these basic sort of home assortment of needles at like $2 shops or discount shops, or you can often find them at op shops as well, and they have really handy different ones. I particularly like the straight upholstery needle, the carpet needle, but any of them are particularly useful when you want a bigger needle, even the curved needle. So there's that. So all you're going to need is a needle with some thread, and you don't even have to really worry about putting a knot in the end of the thread. I do have a knot in the end of this one, but not necessary. You'll need something to be your stringing up thread. I'm using just some of this stripy baker's twine. Again, you can find this in $2 shops and often in op shops as well, but whatever you want to use, you could even use a piece of wool, for example, just something that's going to be sort of strong enough to tie it up with. Even just a regular sort of garden twine could be quite a nice natural look. And then you need your orts. So I often get asked, what's an ort? It's an O-R-T-S. And it basically has come to be to have the meaning of these leftover threads that you get either when you're stitching and you sort of cut it off, or you might get a tangle in some threads and you don't get that untangled, or when you're pulling bits of fabric apart, like tearing it down to make a smaller bit of fabric. You get a lot of these bits off the side, so that's what these sort of thinner ones are, and I throw them all into a jar. I've actually got multiple jars. I'm quite a bit behind on making my Ort balls, so I figured now was a time to really get stuck into it. So I'm just going to pull out, because it's nice to be able to kind of pick. Oh, there was a pin in there. Try not to put pins in your Ort jar. That would be recommended. I'm just going to pull them all out. I'm probably going to drop my little Ort bauble off the table, but that's okay. And as you can see, I've got a lovely selection there to choose from. So all I'm going to do to start is grab some Orts. And so Ort, I think, came out around as a word maybe back in the Middle Ages, and it was just, meaning scraps at that time. But then it came to be associated with thread at some point in the sort of evolution of words. And so it's basically all these little bits of thread. So often if I've got whitey bits like I do here, I'll put those at the center of my bauble or my Ort ball. And you can make these whatever size you want. I'll just sort of be sticking broadly to the size that I've got here. And so I usually give the sort of the core a bit of a roll, and that just helps to kind of bind the threads a little bit together. And then I start to pick out some of the colors that I would like on the outside of my ball. And if you get some bits here where you've got a longer piece of thread that is sort of able to be wrapped around, you can start to do a bit of wrapping, which will just help to hold it together. This is even without putting the needle through. You can of course grab your needle at this point and you could thread this piece up. I'm just trying to make it as easy and as carefree as possible. So I'm looking for sort of Christmassy colours, golds, greens, reds, but I don't mind if some other colours get in there. As you can see, there's even like little bits of silk ribbon in the mix. There's sometimes little bits of fabric. I just let it all go in. Some nice reddy bits there. So just going to wrap those around. Oh, there's a nice bit of green wool over here. So wools as well. They all go in. They all add interest. I'm just wrapping it around. We are going to get our thread soon and start stitching through, but I just wanted to get a bit of nice colour, some nice red, and a bit of pink doesn't go astray. You can use the wrapping, you can use the rolling technique, just sort of find what works for you. Some nice greens there. So I think I'm now happy enough that we've got a fair bit. Might need a little bit more red actually. Maybe another little cluster of reddy bits. Oops, and we've managed to get a bit more green coming out too. The green wants to come to play as well. Perfect, we'll take that, a bit of the black as well. And again, I will just do a bit of wrapping to get this all sort of on there. So I'm filming outside. It's such a lovely day today, and we've set up our little table in the garden. You can hear the bird. It's one of the, I think we call them the noisy miners. That's what that bird is called. And I'm going to get my big thread, and I've just used, I have a whole lot of these rolls from Alex's mum, including like multiple rolls of the red, so I don't mind using just a regular old sewing cotton as my one to stitch together. Again, you could reach for things out of your Ort jar and use that for sewing if you wanted to be totally reusing, and if you didn't have old sewing cottons to use up. But I know I'll never get through all the sewing cottons that Alex's mum has given me, so I don't mind enlisting them for this. And so what I'm now doing is just putting stitches through. And again, you can do a bit of rolling around if you want to start to get some little ends to kind of go in and help give it a bit of tightness. So you can do a combination of stitching and rolling. Hold the thread if you've done a bit of rolling until you get a stitch in. And you can make these as tight as you want. I know when I did the original video, some people said, oh, my hand got sore. So you don't have to go super, super tight. Just do what you want. And these are a great thing to do progressively. I did have plans to do one a week or one a night. And I think maybe one a night, and have them at the end of a year, have 365 baubles. That didn't happen. I'm lucky if I can kind of get my desk tidied up at the end of the night before it's well and truly past my bedtime. I tend to get a bit carried away stitching. And so now I'm just going to work my way around and kind of anchor in any little bobbly bits. Again, you might like the look of the bobbly bits, so you do you. There are absolutely no rules. This is a very, very organic craft. And once you're happy that everything is sort of nicely anchored, the other thing you can do if you do have bobbly bits and you don't want them is you can just sort of trim them down. But usually I don't do that. Usually I'll just sort of stitch my way around. Just giving you an option though. So I can see I've still got a little bobbly bit there, so I'll try and anchor that down. And in my other video, which I will link to you, I gave heaps and heaps of ideas for ways you can use these Ort balls in a whole range of things. And then my lovely viewers and subscribers also threw in lots of wonderful suggestions. So it's a great resource if you are thinking, oh, what else can I use Ort balls for? But yeah, if you make journals or do any things like that, it's fantastic for that too. So I'm going to just trim off my end. I didn't worry about tying it off or anything. You can, but generally I find that these hold pretty well. And then I've got this piece of my baker's yarn, which I've got a needle on the end of it so that I can just sort of progressively thread them on to my piece of string. And there's a bauble. So we'll make a few more together, but obviously if you've got the sort of the hang of that already, you might not need to watch that more. But sometimes people like a bit more of a video that you can stitch along to. So I'll get a bit more of my thread. It's good to get a pretty long piece thread that up. As I say, you don't need to worry about a knot in the end the first time when you pull it through. Just sort of, yeah, pull it until the end's just sticking out slightly. Put that to the side. Again, I'll grab some white for my core. This even looks almost like a bit of wool or something that's maybe come out of my felting. So yeah, keep any fibres really can do the trick. I've got some lovely gold which I might bring in, and I've got this. I got a whole batch of this at the Embroiderers Guild D-stash, and I thought this could be lovely because it's a sort of a goldy green. And so you can de-thread bigger, well not de-thread, sort of unwind, unfurl bigger pieces. I'll just chop that bit there. Try not to pull my. And then yeah, you can just use these like that. And you could even thread them, get them to sort of unwind a bit more if you wanted. Like this goes lovely and fluffy. I've often used it in my texture projects. So try not to fly away pieces of thread. So maybe I'll get a little bit more in my core. And again, I'll do a bit of that wrapping around. Just if you can wrap from the from the center, then it just makes it easier. Less stitches are required to get it nice and tight. So keep wrapping. Oops, stay there. Got a bit of a blue thread, but again, doesn't matter. It all comes together to make nice decorations. You could obviously, when you're sorting your orts out, keep them in different colours. I don't bother with that. I'm happy to kind of dig in and enjoy the process of picking things out of my stash. And you can use these orts if you do end up with a heap of them like I do. They're great for stuffing things as well. Definitely don't throw them away. Just keep a jar handy and you'll be amazed how quickly they build up. Okay, now I want some red. It's a lovely, I think that's one of my lovely razzle bits of thread. It's not that long, but it's one of Sue Spargo's beautiful threads. A bit of green, got a bit of blue as well, but that's okay. We'll go with that. I know some people do beautiful blue, white and sort of silver Christmas trees. They always look nice too. So again, we'll just do a bit more wrapping and then we'll use a bit of that goldy thread I think after this. And don't worry about knotty bits like that, that's all fine. It will all go into the mix. Use a bit of that goldy thread, we'll see how that wraps. It's probably going to give me some hairy bits. I might actually have to do a trim on this one. Oops, I've just dropped my bauble on the ground. Oops, the bauble has rolled under the table. I'm just going to jump up. You probably had my head there. So apologies for that. So, back to the wrapping. It's all the fun of the fair when you're... This almost reminds me of corn husks. This goldy colour. But yeah, I think I will have to give this a bit of a hairy trim unless I put something over the top. Oh, I might be able to wrap it, we shall see. Right, so I think now's the time to grab my threaded needle. So it is good to have it sort of threaded ahead of time. Oops. And as I say, don't pull it too far through on the first time like I did there. Just leave yourself a bit of tail. You can then put that into the sort of the wrapping. Get it anchored, then you can use your thread also to do a bit of wrapping, especially if it's trying to sort of swing away from you. I'm not sure I love this gold thread. It is very, very wispy. I think it can be tamed. Right, so I've done a bit of wrapping just to tame, and then we can come in and do a bit of stitching. Again, if you feel you need a bit more wrapping at any point, just do whatever you think's going to work for you. So that's not too bad, but I think I will do my little bit of trimming. Just so it doesn't look like Mr. It. So that's pretty good. I am wondering if I might put a little bit more of a brighter green on it as well. So what I might do, I'll finish this thread off and then I'll see if I've got a longer bit of green thread that I can thread up on the needle. Just get the red wrapped around. And then I was having a look at this piece over here. What have we got? Yes, that will be a nice piece. So if you do have longer bits left in your Orts jar, you can definitely thread those up too. And you can really, if you were doing a project of a particular colour, you can just kind of, use the bits that have come off the fabric for that project, and then you'll have something that colour coordinates. So here I'm just kind of doing random stitches around, just so I get those little dashes of the green on the outside, and it's also securing the piece. And if you just do it on the outside, you might find that's easier on your hands as well, rather than pushing right through the very centre of the piece. Again, just look for where you want to be able to kind of stitch something down. So I want to get that one to sit a bit flatter, so I'm just going to put a stitch over the top. You can see I've got a bit of red hanging around there, so I'm just going to catch that with my needle and secrete that in. So it's getting really nice and dense, this ball. And I'll just finish off using the green. I'll have a look where I don't have this green on the surface, and put a few stitches in there. And it's actually undone itself, so I think I'm pretty happy with that. So I'll put a bit of green back into my Orts stash, and there is another one to join my garland of Ort balls. So I'll just give you a look at how that's looking. So there you go. So we'll make another one. As I say, I've got a lot of this to get through. I'll use a bit of this. Again, this would have come off the edge of fabric or something. It's a peachy colour. So I think I might put some of this goldy. I'm not as impressed with that on the outside, so I might use that for a bit of inner wrapping. Getting a nice solid core on this. And I might wrap. What else have I got? Let's have a look. Keep that for the outside because it's a nice green. Might just use some of this multicoloured fluffs. But again, I think I can kind of wrap it around as I go. It's got little bits of fabric in it, but as I say, I'm not gonna worry about that. And then yeah, I think I might use this bundle. Take the bluey, take that bit out. I might use the rest of this because it's in very nice colours to just make my bauble. And then I might grab some of this red that's here. Sorry, just bumped the table, probably bumped the camera because the camera is on a stand on the table. Let's just have a look. I have a bit of a knot in this, but... And what have I done with my scissors? Where are they hiding? There they are. They are in the Ort jar. Just cut a bit of this red thread and then we'll thread ourselves up. Threading our needle up, and then we'll get to, unless I want to use, I know these are shorter lengths, so I can't really use what's on here to wrap around, so I am just going to give it another roll together, and then we'll get stitching in. So first time you pull it through, just leave your tail, wrap your tail around, and you'll pick it up in one of the other sort of wraps or stitches anyway. Okay, so now that we're anchored on, I'll do a little bit of wrapping just to get this all attached, and then I'll stitch in. And so I'll try and pick up the sort of bobbly bits and catch them with my thread. I'll pick up this bit and anchor that down, anchor this bit down. And anchor that bit down if I can. I'll do another little bit of wrapping to help myself along. Now I'll pop up to the top where I've got some little tufty bits up there. So are you busy getting ready for Christmas? Are you making decorations or gifts, or busy in the kitchen? Saw my friend Christy last night had her Christmas cakes. I've got to get all my Christmas baking happening, so I thought I'll get a few of these Christmas crafty things done and videoed, and then I can pop them out for you. Another wrap, and I'll just re-thread the needle because I do want to probably just do a few more little stitches on this one to secure it down as much as possible. Oops, unthread it again. Can always come in with a bit more red thread if I need it. I just feel I've got a bit of tuftiness up here, but we'll see if we can anchor these ones. So yeah, I think that will be as much as I can get out of that thread. Just pull it nice and tight, snip it off, and then yeah, if I do have any little bits that are tufty and that I can't easily constrain, so that's pretty good as well. Again, I will thread that onto my bauble, and there's the next one. Okay, one more I think. I always get addicted when I'm making these, so as I say, feel free. You've probably got the hang of it by now, but if you're enjoying it, if you're enjoying the bird song, and if you're maybe making some of these at home, feel free to hang out with me in the garden. Sun's now come out, it will soon be coming overhead. I'd actually taken the little umbrella down because I thought it was making it a bit too dark here, but I might need to put the brolly up soon. Next up, I'm going to have my lunch, I think, today. So again, you can put little ribbon scraps in. You can also use knotted little bits as well, will work fine. And where you do have a longer length, do a bit of wrapping as you go, because that will just help to give you a good roundish core. So I might add a bit of, I think the yellow's nice, like a yellowy gold. And a bit of green. And even the white itself is quite pretty. And you could always, if you had a whole lot of white like selvages, if you'd been tearing up sheets or something, you can always use like a colouring, a fabric colour or ink tints. You could paint them up as well. But I do quite like them with the thread because they just do get that variation in colour. Oops, dropped a bit on the ground. We'll pick that up in a moment. Okay, so grab my needle. Hope I haven't lost a needle on the ground. I'm going to have a thorough look afterwards. Don't want Travis the dog stepping on any needles. So let's find ourselves a bit of decent length of something. Use a bit of this green. It's almost like a cordy sort of size, or a very big pearl. Okay, threading that up and then start off here. It's actually holding together pretty well, this ball already. And if you've got something like ribbon or fabric, it's good just to put a few stitches through that. Oops. The knot was trying to come out, that ready knot, so I'm just going to stitch that in place a bit better. Okay. Ouch. Wouldn't be a stitching session with me if I didn't stab myself, would it? Or get a knot, or both at the same time. Couldn't have you missing out, could I? Okay, I'm going to go over here like this. Got another knot in my thread, but I'm not going to worry about that. If I can't get it to secrete itself in, we're just going to, again, I like to show you these things, so if it happens to you, you don't panic, you don't think you have to redo it. You can just incorporate it into the design once you've got it sort of wrapped around. All the wind is whipping up, hopefully you're not getting wind noises on the video. I'm almost done anyway. We'll just attach this one on afterwards and we'll call that a day, although as you can see I've got many more Orts balls to make before Christmas. So I'm pretty happy this is nicely held together. So I don't think I even need to keep stitching around, I'll just choppy-do. And then we will if you ever have trouble going through the cord because it has become quite dense, just try another spot. And you can use your table to help you push. And it can be helpful if you do have a pair of pliers that we were talking about the other day, because they do come in very handy. I haven't brought them down with me, so I'm just going to have to do the wobble method. So I will put my needle out of the way over there. I'll push my orts back and we can have a little look at the finish. I'll take my needle off my baker's twine. And so here is, that one's got a bit of a stringy bit on it. Where was that stringy bit there? Oh no, it's just something that was attached but not actually attached. Another one, another one, another one. So you can see they get done pretty quickly. I had a couple started, but you can get a lovely little set of baubles in not too much time. So I hope you enjoyed that little crafting activity, and let me know in the comments if you're going to do it or if you've got other ideas for how you're going to use the Ort balls that you create. They are even cute just to have in a little bowl. You could make a bigger one that could be a pin cushion, all sorts of possibilities. Thanks everyone, have a great day or evening. Bye.